I am to some degree playing to a notion of analysis as a process that people engage in through a degree of disjointment, a degree of severance or separation, wherein they engage a component of their being, a component of their consciousness or mind, in absence of others, in separation from others.
Less arcane than the desire to express one's views on a given subject, less obtuse than the idea of wishing to express one's self, is the desire to understand.
There is a tendency to view the construction as innately separate from the person who constructs it.
I have some difficulty with this idea of expression of the self because, frankly, it's an idea entirely foreign to me. I wish I could describe to you what it feels like to touch another mind.
It is the result of efforts on the part of the creator to manipulate that which is found in their environment in a manner suitable to their ends, suitable to their purpose. Never mind the problem of boundary identification there.
I think at this point we can be fairly confident that the notion that demonstration of the construction of an idea, arrangement of ideas thereof, does not reciprocate the idea, does not recreate the idea, and certainly does not recreate the experience of the idea. The Cartesian notion of argumentation is demonstration that in illustrating how a thing is put together, one will in some way motivate others to put it together, or even enable them to put it together. That this notion is inherently false, I think, is generally understood.
Yeah, we have curious syntactical propositions like we would say that this is my hand, but we would not necessarily say that this is me. Plenty of oddities present in that. And given that that extends over to some degree to the actions that one undertakes, particularly given that most of the Western definitions of identity, at least to some degree, include conscientious decision as a component of that identity. As such, our choices, to some degree, are part of us. And in the process of fashioning a thing, we make many choices.
In short, our processes of constructions are, in essence, deconstructions, that rather than merely illustrating how we may build something, we are also commenting on how we view things as having been built. Nowhere is this more true than in our commentaries on the human condition itself. And it's my finding and my thinking that commentary on the human condition is something of an inevitability, that it is something that we engage in any construction or deconstructive effort.
How much more difficult, how much more complicated when the thing which the creator in question is seeking to fashion is a representation of themselves, including the processes wherein they go about that creation.
As we look at this strange question of an obsession with esoteric philosophy, particularly as it pertains to the self, this potential resolution of a desire to understand gives us a great deal. It illustrates a connection between the pursuit of the subject matter itself and a desire to express one's views on it, not for its own sake, not for the sake of expression, but for the sake of being understood. The desire to understand and the desire to be understood are inextricably linked. They are absolutely, inseparably connected.
Once again, we come back to the problem of that which, having been fashioned by human hands, the human mind or human effort, being represented as somehow inhuman.
One might go so far as to say that the desire to understand and the desire to be understood are two different manifestations of the same force, the same emotional impetus or energy. We don't have to get too abstract to illustrate this. As one desires to understand, period, to understand themselves, to understand others, coming to an understanding of oneself is a necessary component of that process. Should that not be the case, then that which is most immediate to us would remain that which we do not understand. And in the most intimate sense, our pursuit would have failed. But more, more, I think it manifests most directly in our interactions with others, which is where expression comes into the picture. As we actively engage in this process of understanding, as we investigate, as we develop, as we explore ideas, and in applying this to the persons around us, in applying this to our perceptions of the people around us, we find that we see so much in them, so much more than we did before we began asking these sorts of questions. To gain that brief, momentary sensation of its contours, its motions, its relations, its associations, we see in other people a vastness, an immensity, a staggering complexity that I have heard reported by every person who I know has honestly lost sleep over questions of philosophy of the self.